Okay.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Chris.
Push your microphone.
Press my microphone. Wow, look at that. Good morning. Thank you a second time. Welcome to this parent forum this morning here in Sachem. My name is Chris Pellettieri. I'm a little messed up because it's my first moments in this room with some of the people I just met a few moments ago. I'm going to ask if we could go around, maybe do a quick introduction for everyone. We're going to take questions. We're going to do the best that we can. I know that there are a lot of questions. There might even be some questions we don't even know that there are questions yet. So there's so much new going on. So I want to do a quick introduction of everyone. First, if we can go around the room and just introduce ourselves. Again, Chris Pellettieri, Superintendent, Sachem School.
Kristen Cable, Assistant Superintendent for Personnel.
Patty Combetta, Assistant Superintendent for Student Support and Administration.
Good morning, Erin Hines, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction.
Good morning, Kathy McCabe, Lead Nurse for the Sachem District.
Good morning, Ed Miller, Facilities Director.
Alex Picarillo, Board of Education.
Sarah Waddell, Board of Education.
Bevan Lannis, Sachem PTA Council President.
So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And again, I know there are a lot of questions. I want to give you a little just background on myself really quickly as I start here in Sachem Schools. Technically, I do start September 1st, which is next week, but we are jumping in together, feet first. We have a great team here. I'm proud to be a part of it. I do come from Rockville Center Schools, where I just spent the past 12 years, 12 years as Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum. And prior to that, I was a principal of Bryant High School. I think we have some Bryant alumnus out there in Sachem. There was a school building with 4,000 students in it and 400 staff. It was one city block, 5 stories tall. And so I do come from a background of having large organizations and being a part of that. So I really look forward to my time here in Sachem. My sister Gina actually lives in the district. So when I first had the opportunity to talk about perhaps coming out to join the Sachem family, I spoke with her. She said it was a strong district, an outstanding district, and my folks live out in Mauritius, so they're close by as well. I just feel a strong sense of family here. I've always felt a sense of family in all the places I've gone. It's really important to me. And when I heard this community referred to as the Sachem family and saw how much they rally to each other's side when there are issues and obstacles, I felt like it would be a great opportunity for me. I worked very hard to be here today, and I'm proud to be here today. I want to thank the Board of Education, Alex and Sarah, who are here representing them, and the parents and the community. Thank you so much for coming, them, and the staff and team here who have done an outstanding job really getting the district going in a great direction. Really proud of that, and we will continue that forward. So I'm sorry we have masks on. I'm going to just reveal myself for a moment, and then obviously, since we are sitting together inside, put my mask back on. And let's jump in real quick and get started, please.
Good morning, and on behalf of the Board of Education and the entire community, we just want to thank you again for setting this forum up for everyone. I know there are still a lot of questions that still haven't been answered. Will our schools be taking the temperatures of the students each day?
The parents will be responsible to take the temperatures at home, and if they do not fill out the health survey, then the building staff will, the building staff will then have the child come to the nurse, and the nurse will take their temperature.
So I don't know if they heard the first part, Kathy, from you, because your mic wasn't on, in terms of we are expecting parents to take temperatures at home,
yes.
Correct?
We are expecting parents to take the temperatures at home and fill out the health survey before the child comes to school. There will be a reminder sent to them to do this every day, but if they wake up, take their kid's temperature like we have been doing, that will be best practice.
And can we just describe exactly how they fill out this health form? Where will they go each day to fill it out?
Where is it? How do they access it?
We've created a Google form for each building. You will be receiving shortly a visual that has a QR code. It will also be sent out on our district Remind. We will look to do that about an hour or so ahead of each high school, middle school, and then elementary time frame. And it is, quite a few questions, not too long, but just the ones that you would think. And just please make sure that you read the top and answer the questions, each day for us.
I think it's 3 or 4 questions, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And that is something that needs to be done on a daily basis, please.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and excuse me, if I could just state, especially in these times, if there's any question that you think that your child isn't feeling well, just please keep them home for the safety and welfare for them and for everyone else that's coming to school to learn. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can you please provide an update on how transportation will work for both hybrid and remote students who will be attending BOCES?
So transportation for our students who will be going to BOCES on a daily basis, we, at this time, I know we said in our original plan that we had sent out that we may need to have the support of families to get the students either in or back from the high school, because we will have a bus that will go directly to BOCES every day from each high school. However, we are working with our transportation coordinator to see if we can hand schedule a route for those students at the high schools.
How will the district stay in compliance with the integrated co-teaching ICT model for hybrid students with IEPs? Providing live streaming is not direct instruction support, and grouping the students with IEPs together on a daily basis without their general education peers is also non-compliant in this learning model.
So as far as the Aed schedule goes, we know that we've heard, quite a bit of feedback around our ICT students. I just want to be very clear with our families that this was a very tough decision for us. It is one based on the fact that the size of our buildings and our numbers, and as we see remote learning numbers, waver, and as we come into school, we might be able to relook at that plan. But for now, every day on your child's schedule, your child will be receiving a Google lesson on their Google Classroom for each subject area. Their special education teacher would be modifying those lessons, checking in throughout the day. If they have a reteach, the same thing will occur. As far as live streaming goes, that is something that we are working towards, as well as Google Meet, as we work out cameras that are being installed and work being done to our infrastructure.
If I could just jump in on that, Erin, thank you so much. It seems like I have questions for you, Erin, but thank you very much. This was not an easy decision. We've had this discussion wanting our kids with us. We want all of our kids. We're going from 0. We want everybody in without masks together back in school. But the world is not the place where we can do that right now. So we are working very hard on this. We'll continue to monitor this. And I'll say that about every single thing we talk about here today. We may be starting in one place, and within a month, we may be in another place. And so we recognize that, and our plans need to be flexible. And so sometimes you might not hear a specific answer about a specific, why can't they just drill this down for me and tell me this? And I will just tell you that that's not easy. There are things we don't know yet, but at least we know the questions. Like, what will it look like for a remote learner? We know that question, but we haven't fully lived that yet. But I'm going to tell you that there are unknown unknowns, which means there are questions we don't even know to ask yet, let alone have those answers. So we will be on it, and we will look for those things, and we will be flexible, and we will find those answers, and we will get them out to people. And we will make decisions like we're making now, and if we have to adjust as we move forward, we'll make those adjustments. Always with health and safety in mind of our staff and our students.
I have a few questions regarding masks. What children need to wear masks and will children need to wear masks during instructional time? And will they have to be worn all day?
So I'm going to jump in on that. If anyone else, Ms. McCabe, you certainly can as well. You're the expert in this area, but I'm just going to give you my own preference. And you'll see that we are up here wearing masks now because I spoke with, after reading a lot of research, and I know there's research kind of on both sides of this issue, as you can always find research on both sides of many issues. I spoke with our doctor, Dr. Nussbaum, who is an expert in this field. We rely on him for his expertise, his advice, his counsel. And without hesitation, he said to me, students need to be masked throughout the day, even during instruction, even if they're 6 feet apart. We are spending now 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours in a building together in classrooms, in cafeterias, learning, speaking, talking. And so we need to be on the safe side of this issue. So we are going to be wearing masks, adults and students. And students who come without a mask We can provide them with a mask. We don't have thousands of masks. We don't have 12,000 masks. But if a child forgets a mask, or if a child's mask breaks during the day, we will pass that on. I think we'll probably get maybe more about that. Ed, maybe you can even jump on this maybe in a little bit, but let me just finish my diatribe here. I am concerned about everyone's safety and well-being, staff and students. So we will start with masks throughout the day in all instructional spaces. If a kid is out on a field during recess, off, far away from other kids, and take a mask break and pull his mask down, that's one thing. But if kids come together and start playing kickball and being around each other, as kids often do, then an adult is going to say, you have to have your mask on. We need to protect our students, our staff. My heart aches for kids. I have an eighth grader and an 11th grader, and they have their masks, and my daughter has a little hand sanitizer and a little pouch, little pink pouch with wipes that she's going to use on her desk. My son could care less. He'll just deal with it. But it is a great concern to me. So yes, we will start with masks. We will wear masks, and I just hope the data changes, that the science changes, that we stay as healthy as we have been of late in this state. And if that happens, and we get direction that we can start to leave some of these restrictions and maybe not have to wear them in certain spaces at certain times, then we'll move from that. Again, we'll adjust, we'll refine, we'll figure it out as we go along. But we're going to start the safest way possible, which to me is masks throughout the day. Of course, when I'm having lunch, Alex, I'm going to pull it down and eat. I'm going to take it off when I'm sitting in a cafeteria. But it's just like adults when we go to the restaurants. We can take them off once we're seated. We're going to do that. We want to have that policy. We're going to have mask breaks that are organized, where a teacher will say, first row and third row, let's take down our masks. We're not going to be talking or interacting during that time. When we're outside, if at all possible, we'll take off, we'll lower our masks. We have to be safe about this. And I do not want a single person or child, staff member, adult in this district, in this family getting sick from us being together in schools. This is the greatest test we're facing right now, I think, in this state. Opening schools, this nation, opening schools. We got to get through this.
Just a quick follow-up. I think that we all saw the picture from the high school in Georgia, and just wondering how we're going to enforce and what's going to be the policy on kids that are not following the mask protocols.
That's not going to be easy, Alex. You've heard my passionate plea just now. I really feel that. I'm going to ask parents that we are in this together as part of this Sachem family, and that kids come to school wearing masks. We're going to work at it. It's something, again, we're going to have to live. I don't want confrontations. I don't want issues with this. We'll have to have a talk with our administration, and I'm going to jump in on Tuesday, meet all of our principals for the first time. I've met a couple already. We're going to have those conversations. Kids should be wearing masks. I'll put it that way. Adults should be wearing masks in this room and that room too. So we have to all be on the same page of this. I don't want to see a picture like that. I'm going to be very upset if I see a picture like that. I know some parents feel otherwise on this issue, maybe even some of our staff and adults here. I want to start this way as safe as possible. It's a tough adjustment. I think we can move away from it if we start wisely and safely.
Thank you.
Can you please provide clarification on how electives and specials will work for both hybrid and remote students on the secondary level?
Erin again?
So just like every other class that will occur at the AV level, again, we will have a Google Classroom running for every elective, every special, and on days that the children are home, again, as we work towards live streaming and the use of Google Meet, they would be conducting their lessons on Google Classroom and or completing activities that were given out the day before. So if I was in a technology elective, maybe my homework was to finish up that project and also give me a little bit of some pre-teaching information for when I return.
So I'll jump in again. Parents have always been our partners, even more so now, more important than ever. And so when students are home, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, we need that support. We need our students working hard, doing that work that's been provided by teachers. There will be interaction back and forth at some points. Again, that's something that we're going to work on. One of the things we're actually working on in pilot, I would like to see us pilot some live streaming. We don't fully have that infrastructure yet, so that's not an option for us. I'd love to see us start to build it. I know our great business official, John O'Keefe, has already started to allocate funds in that area. I know we're running fiber already in that area. I know we're ready probably to do some small pilots in some areas. And again, this will be another one of those things that we build capacity as we move forward.
In the hybrid model, new instruction is only presented on alternating days. How will the students be provided with 100% of the required curriculum in 50% of the time? Regardless of any official decisions made this year regarding Regents or AP exams being exempt or optional, what is the plan to ensure that students will have gained the skill sets required to move forward to the next grade level or for college?
So Erin, I'm going to give you a break on this because I've answered this question many times because I'm the assistant superintendent. I was the assistant superintendent. You can correct me on that. I was the assistant superintendent for curriculum. And so our goal, our vision is that we are going through the school year with 100% of instruction, 100% of the curriculum. We do not want to do half because then our kids learn half. Where does that leave? We don't want to do a quarter. We don't want to do 3/4. We don't want to do 80%. We want to do 100%. And so in order to do that, there will be new materials presented on days when students are not here as part of Google Classroom. We're going to have to work through that. Again, that's where parents are going to be our partner. That's where teachers are going to be working with students. It's a huge effort on our teachers. Everyone here in this forum right now is prepared to do more than they've probably ever done before, and I know our teachers are prepared to do that as well. So our intention is to teach the full course of study. I don't know what's going to happen with the Regents. We might have them, we might not. We'll know that. I wish we'd know that sooner rather than later, because then we can take a look at some areas where I might not have to do that piece, because I know that's a piece on the Regents and not necessarily a piece a big piece in the curriculum otherwise. So it's our intention to teach fully, so kids are prepared. We got to get them, keep moving. That's why we didn't just close schools. 100 years ago when we had the Spanish flu, schools closed. Kids are on farm. They went off. They weren't in buildings. They just kind of gave up. Now we have technology where we can continue to move forward. I want to see us to do that, and we're going to see us through it. We have Erin and other great staff here in the district that make sure that we can provide that curriculum at 100%. If we can't, and again, just like everything else, if we look up on October 1st or November 2nd or something like that and say, whoa, this really is not working, then we'll have to make adjustments. Our plan is to go forward with a full curriculum for every child so they are prepared for the next grade and prepared for that next level of college.
What happens when a child has a temperature? Do they just get sent to an isolation room? Do they go home? What enables that child to come back to school?
Okay, so that's two questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is your mic on?
And I think too, Ms. McKay, when you're answering this, what happens if a child is having other symptoms? If he's coughing, if he's sneezing, maybe it's just a seasonal allergy. What will the protocol be for getting the child back in school? Is it a negative? Do they have to go get tested? Is it a negative test? What exactly is that?
If they have a fever, they will go home.
Okay.
That's a must. If they have symptoms, they will be evaluated and then determine if they have allergies. That's going to be a second look. So if students have allergies and the nurses have that in documentation, then the child will be evaluated that way. But if it is the child is sick and has COVID symptoms, they will be sent home, will have to be seen by their doctor. In order to return to school, they would need a note with a diagnosis that it wasn't COVID. If it was COVID, they need to have a negative test in order to return. That's as per New York State Department of Health, and also Dr. Nussbaum has signed off on that too.
Okay. And just to piggyback, then what happens when that child tests positive? How does everyone find out? Like, how does, like, I'm on the bus with that child, I'm on a class with that child, I eat lunch with that child. How do I find out as a friend or a parent of a friend? What are the protocols put in place for that?
We're working on letters. We have letters that have step-by-step instructions on what to do, and the protocols on how we would do the tracing back to that.
But to your point, Alex, whatever classroom that child had encountered, they would, parents and any guardians would be receiving that same letter that you might see when someone has lice or has fifth disease or anything else. We would obviously be alerting on top of any contact tracing, et cetera.
So that doesn't automatically mean also that we're quarantining everyone that came across that child.
That's
We will follow the Department of Health, Suffolk County Department of Health will make a determination that, you know what, this child, these 3 children were in close proximity for more than 15 minutes. and closer than 6 feet. So we're going to be on the safe side of this, and we're going to quarantine those 3 children. But these other 12 that were in his room, they were far enough away. We spoke with the teacher. We don't feel they need to quarantine, and they'll make that call, and we'll follow that. Again, I don't want this district at risk. I don't want us liable. We will follow the safeguards from the Department of Health, and we'll make sure that we're doing the best we can when it comes to, again, health and safety of our students and our staff.
Okay.
I just like,
I would like to just jump in on that as a reminder, under the CDC and the Department of Health, the medical treatment provider who has a positive test for an individual is required to notify the CDC, the Department of Health. That triggers them to start the contact tracing, which is the area under the medical professional area. Certainly, we're a belt and suspenders type of a district, want to make sure for the health of our students and our staff that we do what we need to do, and we'll continue to notify the COVID hotline on anything related to that.
Just one more follow-up, just so now we know what happens with the children. What happens if it's the teacher that's been in the room with them for 42 minutes, or if it's somebody else?
Alex, it's exactly the same protocol. The
Okay.
Department of Health will make a determination as to who might have been at risk for exposure, and they will tell us this group or those students need to be home. And then they'll tell us beyond that too.
Okay.
We cannot make that determination. We're not going to decide who we think is at risk. If you're okay, you're not. We'll have the health professionals do that.
Thank you very much.
Will the elementary students be staying in their classrooms all day, or have the opportunity to move around to other places in the building or outside? Will they be eating lunch in the classroom, and will hot lunch be served?
I'll jump in on, I know they're going to be eating lunch in the classrooms. And that's something that's happening throughout the state, throughout the districts. It's not something we are happy about or want to happen, but it is a safeguard. We want them in their area, their space, as long as possible throughout the day. So lunch will be in their classroom with them. As far as hot lunch, I don't know that answer.
So hot lunch for the first few weeks, we are going to move more towards using a cold lunch, just so that we can make sure that the kids are able to select those choices and that we're able to get it to them safely without, any, but we will be working toward that. And of course, as students ask for that, our head cooks are ready to start supplying hot lunch.
Will it be brought to them? Will
Yes.
lunch be brought to students?
Yep, lunch will be brought to students on carts that we have purchased for the building.
Can I just ask a follow-up about lunch? If the children that are on free or reduced lunch, and let's just say it's an A day, B day at the secondary, how will they receive the lunch or breakfast for the day that they're not in school?
So very similarly to what we had done throughout our closure and parts of the summer, we will have opportunities for people to either come pick them up, or we will also have drop areas that we will be bringing lunches to as well. And Mr. O'Keefe will probably be able to send out further communication around that as we draw closer to school.
Thank you.
Alex, thank you for that point. Really important that we recognize that there are people at risk that don't have the services that they normally have, and we need to get them to them. So thank you for reiterating that.
And I'm sorry, just to piggyback on that as well, I believe also we were working with our food service that we might be able to provide, so that it's a little bit easier, just transportation-wise. The children might be able to bring home breakfast and lunch with them on the day that they're here. So we're looking at those two options.
Thank you.
As far as instruction, the other instruction is being pushed in, right? Art is being pushed in now, music is being pushed in now, so they will be in their classes more than usual. We'll look for opportunities for breaks, get up, move around. I have to be careful with that language and that word, but certainly when I was teaching my economics classes at Bryan High School, and my students started to get a little bouncy, I'd get them up, moving around and things like that. Certainly we'll do that at the lower level and the high school level.
We also talked about, if you don't mind, just about outdoor classroom living too. So when a teacher and students feel comfortable, they are more than welcome to also be outside as well. So we'll be doting the outside with any extra furniture that we've taken out of the buildings and things that are already outside too. It's always nice to be out, in the fresh air when we can.
Yeah, I've actually seen some of the courtyards. Alex, you took me down to Seneca? Samoset, and some spectacular courtyards there, and I saw chairs and tables out there already, so I love that we're using that space.
How will IEPs be followed for students in self-contained placements who are fully remote?
Aaron, I'm sorry. sorry, I'm
It's
gonna
quite
look
all right.
at you a lot today.
So just like what we had done, which was, kudos to our special education staff over the summertime. We ran our special education summer program, and that was a live one-to-one and or class Google Meet. And so we will run the same thing for our special education students who are self-contained, fully remote at home. And that would also include, speech, OT, PT, and that's for any remote learner who receives those services. We're working towards that being fully on Google Meet, but at the very least, we'll have live interaction as well as, lessons being delivered each day onto their Google Classroom.
And that's another thing that we will constantly monitor and keep an eye on. We have outstanding professionals, and where we can see improvements, we will make them.
I know the governor had spoken about when the malls were opening up about air filtration and ventilation. What is the district's, what is the district going to do to assure proper ventilation and HEPA filters are in place?
So that's an important, I met Ed about 10 minutes ago, and that was the first conversation we had. Hi, Ed. So please, would you mind jumping in on that? I know we talked about MERV filters and some of those issues, really important to parents. So if you could jump in on that, I appreciate it.
What we're doing right now is we're installing MERV 13 filters district-wide, every univent, every rooftop unit, every H&B through the district. Outside air dampers are going to be fixed open or set for 80% open. Outside air, we're going to have air exchanges in our classrooms that we never had before. All exhaust fans throughout the buildings will be running all the time. So that being said, the MERV 13 filters are what was recommended by SCD. And our univents, we can't do HEPA filters because they're not manufactured or designed to accept the HEPA filter at all.
Once you start, a little bit that I do know about this, once you start putting in filters that aren't designed for these things, you're just breaking them.
Yeah, right.
They fall apart, and then that's another outlay that the district will have to do. We do not want to do that.
And just to piggyback, there was a miscommunication earlier on another forum that we were going to leave the classroom doors open and not the outside doors, or is it the outside doors?
Classroom hallway doors.
Classroom hallway doors.
Your main exhaust fans are all through the corridors. And so classroom hallway doors open, fresh air comes in through the window wall, right out the doors, out the exhaust fans.
So any door that leads to the outside from inside the classroom will be closed at all times?
Outside doors closed.
Yep, thank you.
In addition, the inside doors will be in the lock position, so they'll be open, but locked, so that way all the teacher needs to do is shut it quickly.
So if there's a drill or any type of issue, we can close those quickly and lock them. Outstanding. Thank you.
Please explain the protocols for student attendance and grading.
So students need to be present each day that they are supposed to be on the secondary level here, and each day, I know all of our K-5 students are coming in, our special education students are coming in, and in the hybrid model secondary, they need to be present each day here when they are not having a fever or ill, and present each day when they are home remote. I mean, they need to check in through their Google Classroom. You guys, please correct me if I'm saying anything wrong, but this is my understanding. And attendance is mandated. The state, we did not have that type of mandate last time toward the end of last year, but attendance is mandated. So we need them checking in each day on a daily basis. When they are here and when they are home, students need to be checking in. And their grades and the grading system, the grading policy is the grading policy that we have, right? We have not changed that or altered that. So the expectation is, again, going back to the question before, 100% of the curriculum is going to be done, 100% of the assessment is going to be done. It's going to look different than it was before, but attendance is a key for our students, and we need them up, dressed appropriately when they're going to be online if there's any live interactions. But that work that's in those Google Classrooms on those days where they are not here, those are not off days. We still expect them to take part in school. Attendance will be monitored and sent to the state.
When you say grading like before, you mean number and letter grades, right? Not the pass and fail like before.
No, we won't be doing pass fail. And again, I know that was a little challenging, not just for our community, every community, but we just felt very strongly at that time that there were so many outliers to hold, kids harmless, felt much more comfortable. Now, as we're saying, we plan on delivering 100% of the curriculum on Google Classroom. We expect attendance. We know that there will be some live interaction that we're working towards, and kids also here. And so our expectation, obviously elementary in, is that we can start moving ahead with our grading as usual. I will say that we are taking a look at what assessments can look like, because we know that our traditional assessments might not fit this model, and that's actually a pretty good thing for us. We were already looking at project-based learning, other types of authentic assessment. So we're going to start having conversations with our department instructional chairs to all come together and take a look at some alternate assessment models.
Yeah, I hate to admit that we will be building some of this as we go forward, but the entire state, we're all facing this, the country, and we will be building some of this as we go forward.
To follow up on the question that Sarah just asked, for students who feel ill and remain home, can they log in and work from home on those days and still receive credit for the work and for attendance?
So, do we have a defined answer to this?
So our plan, as what we've been saying, is that every day lessons will be posted for all students. And so whether you're home because of quarantine or you're home because you're sick, the guidance does say that children reserve that right, as we would want them, to be able to look at those lessons and any materials that are posted. So the easy answer is yes. Parents and students will be able to look at that each day.
How about the attendance piece? I don't know that we can.
We can't do the attendance piece,
Right.
because if you're home, you're home. If it's quarantine, we know that now the state is looking at some possible codes that we would be putting in each time a child we're alerted, or we identify or we hear that they're home because of quarantine. But again, as information comes forth, we'll make sure that we are clear about that with our community.
Are we all right with that answer?
Yes, that's
Okay.
fine. I just actually have a quick follow-up question.
I want there to be follow-up, because I want this to be a discussion, not just us talking at you, so please.
But it goes back to the testing part.
That's too far back.
Are rapid result tests accepted, or does it have to be the long-term tests?
We're going to follow what the New York State Department of Health says. And right now they're saying that the rapid test, but not, oh, I'm not close enough, I'm sorry. The ones that are the blood, I had this conversation with Dr. Niswam again yesterday. If the blood tests are not accurate, because that just really says for the antibodies. It's the one that's the nasal all the way up the nose. Those are accurate. So yes, those are acceptable if they're done by a doctor's office, and then we have documentation for that.
So short answer then, the tough one, up the nose,
Yes.
all the way to your brain, is acceptable all the time.
Right.
The rapid test, we're gonna have to get a little more guidance on, you think?
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
thank you. It's, it's fluid and
Oh my
it's
gosh.
changing, and
Oh my
the
God.
CDC changes and so New York State is staying firm.
Yes, we're going to follow Suffolk County, that's our
Suffolk
home,
County.
right? We're gonna
And New
follow
York State, and
guidance,
they're following
and
from New
then
York
take
State.
advisement from other areas as well, and put it together and build a
Yes.
system.
And
Yeah,
yesterday I was in a meeting with Suffolk County Department of Health.
great.
With the doctors of that and with the county board executive and his members, and they presented for keeping healthcare workers, nurses safe in the health office and what our protocols and everything should be. So we really are aligned
Mhm.
with everything that they are.
And I understand we have masks, shields for those
Yes.
that need them, and gloves for our nurses.
And isolation gowns.
Fantastic, good,
Yes.
very important that we have those, and Ed spoke to me about that when we met 10 minutes ago. Now it's 15 minutes ago. Ed spoke to me about that as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to piggyback on that. There's also a quarantine release from isolation documentation that the healthcare provider, CDC, or the Department of Health may provide, either a student, parent, or an employee. So therefore, that would be at this particular moment, because things are constantly evolving, another area for the ability to get clearance.
If we could just talk about cleaning protocols for a second. Are students permitted to bring their own wipes to school to wipe down desks? Will we have wipes provided? What exactly is the cleaning protocol between classes, especially at the secondary level?
Yeah, Ed, I'll jump in a little bit, and I'm gonna need your backup, please.
All right.
But Ed's bigger than me, so he's good backup for me. So Ed, we do not have the staff to wipe down every desk between periods at the secondary level. Is that right, Ed? That's right. From what I understand. We are going to do deep cleaning every night. We're going to work very hard at that. We're going to ask our kids to wash hands in, wash hands out, wash hands in the hall, wash hands before they get here, wash hands when they get home. So that's one way we're going to safeguard our kids. I know we do have hand sanitizer that we're going to have in each room. Are there wipes available, Ed, that will be in each room if someone wants to walk by and wipe a desk?
I have wipes on order,
Okay.
right? So the idea is to have the wipes available, yes.
Okay.
Right, but we will not be asking students to do any cleaning.
Okay.
If they want to bring in a wet one or a Clorox wipe, are they allowed to bring in their own materials?
They're not allowed to bring in any material that has chemicals on it.
So I'll follow up with that and say that my daughter has this little pouch of acceptable wipes that she's probably going to go to school with, and it can't be alcohol based. You have to be very careful with that. But I know my daughter. She's probably going to take that and like a wet one or something which doesn't have any chemical on it or anything like that, and wipe her little chair and table. And as I said, my son would eat something off the floor. He could care less. But we have to be very careful with that because someone coming behind could have an allergy to whatever was based in that. So we can't have those types of things. We're not going to have police standing there watching and testing, holding up things and testing for acidity and things like that. So we're not going to encourage that. We're going to encourage hand washing and cleanliness in that way, and hand sanitizer. So if I walk in and take some hand sanitizer, I'm now good for that period. I walk out, the next person may come in and do that as well. We should be good in that way.
Thank you.
I'm just going to piggyback on that as well. Our facilities department has been really moving forward very quickly under Mr. O'Keefe to make sure that we have the supplies needed for our students and our staff and the safety of our buildings. That trickles to our building principals as well as our heads and our chiefs, including any of the material through sprays that may need to become available for classrooms. Is that correct, Mr. Miller?
That's correct.
Thank you, guys.
What arrangements will be made for high school students on a music track that will need to participate in performance groups?
Erin, I'm smiling under my mask as I look at you again.
So we have met with our music department just this past week, myself and Ms. Trombetta. We met with our music chairs, all of the music teachers across our district. As we know, our music program is something that we are very proud of, a robust program, good with all sorts of musical groups. So right now we're in the planning phase of how do we deliver and make sure that we can still consistently move forward. I think everybody knows that at this point, having large concerts, large venues are probably going to be out for now, but again, fluidly as we start moving forward. But all of our music teachers are looking at different ways that they can still hold choral groups, everything like that in our large group venues. So our auditoriums, they're blocking off chairs, we're moving things around. So we still expect to be running these groups, but they will be in a modified way. As soon as we know a little bit more information, and as well as any like instrumental lessons, the music teachers will be sending out communication through their principals to all of you, our families.
Okay, going back to temperature taking. Will a contactless device be used to take temperatures? If so, in the interest of the social and emotional wellness of the students and staff, has the district considered implementing a wrist scan protocol as opposed to pointing the device at an individual's forehead?
We have purchased the ones to be done at the forehead, the touchless ones, because it's done in a couple of seconds. And that's what the district has purchased, and that's what we're going to be using.
So certainly I'll just jump in again and say at the forefront of what we're doing, safety and security and health of our students, but that also includes social emotional learning and health and mental health. And so we will be on the lookout for that. I know we talked about some surveys that we're looking to do or have done. We will continue that. It is really vital to us that our kids are in a good space, our staff is in a good space as well. So we're going to go out of our way to make sure that we are working with our youngsters around that.
Thank you.
Safety is always a number one concern for everybody. Now that the students are going to be walking in and the teachers as well with their masks on, recognizing who is going to be an issue. Have we spoken about wearing ID cards around our necks? How are we going to identify everybody who walks in the building?
Does someone have that other than Erin, or is that Erin one?
We are going to have student IDs that we always typically have at the high school, so those will be printed out and given out to our students. I will say the first couple of days are going to be more of teacher and or security officers that are outside and just kind of do a quick check of students as they come in, pull down their mask very quickly. Elementary level, it will be the same thing. Obviously, the elementary level is a little bit different, except for our kindergartners, smaller numbers. But we do anticipate that we would have enough staff outside in order to be able to check both IDs and or student faces as they come in quickly.
Just to piggyback, have we spoken about the students wearing them, the staff wearing them all day long? Are we going to purchase lanyards? Are they going to be required to wear it? And then what happens if, Joe forgets his lanyard today and he doesn't have his ID?
Right, so, our staff is supposed to wear their ID every day. That's the way that they get into the buildings. So that would always be the expectation. And then for our students, we would be looking to do that again. We have not purchased lanyards, but Ms. Trombetta, maybe you can alert to
The
that.
secondary buildings have ordered lanyards for the students. So the expectation is that every student will wear their ID every single day. And on the first day, we're asking the students to print their schedules as well. So as they're coming in the door, they can show a printed schedule that they're a student in the building. And answering your question as to if they forget it that day, there's always a second ID printed for them already in their assistant principal's office. So the students would go down there like they have done in the past to get that as a loaner for the day.
So that same process that we go through where we check that we have our pens and our pencils, and I check my phone, right? It's become an attachment to all of us. That ID is going to be right there as well. We're going to ask folks at home and family and students to make sure that they have that as part of, just as important as their phone now. I'm sure they'll buy that and believe that. But it's going to be part of what they do, as part of their tools for learning each and every day. We're going to ask that they be on that.
Thank you.
How will extra help and clubs be scheduled?
So, as far as extra help, we would still be running extra help the way that we always do. As students and or teachers feel the need for it, it would be given out. We would see though this being done on Google Classroom. And so we are working with our SETA, which is one of our first meetings that we're having today actually, is to just talk through some of these details together. In terms of clubs, we know that we are not having students stay after just for the health and safety and making sure everybody gets home, cleans up. So our clubs are also going to have to go through and see which ones truly are able to run virtually and or when are we going to be running these, because we can't run clubs while the children are on the bus going home as well. So that is a little bit of, I think we had spoken about this at Wednesday's board meeting, just needing a little bit of time so we can get back to folks about how that will look.
Just to follow up, if sports do start on September 21st, and now we have after-school busing, and now there's more kids staying after school, can we look, just like we've talked before about things changing as we go along, will it be re-looked at and say sport clubs can stay after as well?
Yes, of course. I don't know if
Yeah, no, please, yes, I would argue that if we're going in that direction, and we're hopeful that we are, then school is open after school. We would look to see if we'll have to follow guidance.
Yep.
But we would always want to have our after-school clubs are really vital. I coached track for many years, so that's an example of athletics. But giving kids a place to be, to find their friends and find their niche in this world is really important for schools. So I'm upset and bothered that we can't do that right now. So when we can, we're going to be anxious to get back to that.
Thank you.
How will the families obtain the needed books and resources for remote learning?
So do we have a pickup?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, please. I don't know the answer to that. I'm saying we must have a pickup. I took a shot on that one.
We will be having a pickup. Again, as we finalize schedules, all those other things, our staff comes back to us for the first couple of days. Superintendent's conference day, we'll be scheduling pickup material dates for all of our students. Just being mindful that we are limiting the amount of materials that we are loaning out because obviously remote learning is a little bit different. They'll be home, but we do want to make sure that they're matched up to what we are doing presently in our classrooms.
Will students at the secondary level be able to use their lockers? Will they be assigned a locker? Will they be allowed to use it in between periods, before school, after school?
So I'll start, and then if you want
Sure.
to maybe go into them a little bit. So yes, of course. We're just, again, because we're trying to help our students not have too much to carry and to share, we're just limiting the amount of textbooks and, things like that they'll be using. Plus, we're very fortunate, we have been, purchasing a lot for online instructional support. They'll go in the AM and the PM definitely. And then if a student needs throughout the day, they would just need to ask and go. But we're just trying to make sure that everyone's safe, not congregating too long, but it's not going to be any sort of like jail-like environment where kids are not allowed to go after they come in the morning. So it is fluid.
Yeah, fantastic. Again, to have that kind of home base, I think it's important for them, and as long as it's safe and health-wise, we have the directive that we can do that. They will be permitted to use them.
So what about gym lockers? Now, students will have their phones on them, maybe their computers. Are they supposed to take it out to the gym with them, or?
Well, their phones aren't supposed to be out with them, right? Even though they are, right? We know, wink, wink, fine. But they're not changing for gym. As we had said, Ms. McEntee and Mr. Vitale changed around the units so that it's more like personal fitness as opposed to like team sports. So we won't be changing for gym at this time. That's not to say that the PE teachers won't have some sort of space for any type of materials that need to be dropped so that they can do whatever exercises, activities are being done.
And just one more question. I know that secondary at the middle school and the high school, the social interaction in between passing times at lockers is always such a big thing. How will the transition from class to class look? Will kids be able to stop, or is it just a get from this class to that class and we're going to try to get move as quickly as possible?
Look, I didn't even let Alex finish when I was jumping in. So, did we extend the passing time at all in terms of secondary, or is the bell schedule the same consistent bell schedule?
So I think, Patty, you should talk to this because you've been working with the high school principals in particular.
The bell schedule has remained the same for during passing time, except in the morning that secondary buildings are going to be utilizing their homeroom to help with the arrival time to stagger the bus arrival. As far as going in the hallway, they'll be moving from class to class. There'll be no stopping at lockers. We're trying to use like 2 lanes in a hallway and separate it and keep them spaced out, as well as when possible doing one-way hallways. And again, with the lockers, every building is going to look a little different based on the needs of that building and the administrators, what their plan is in place. So we're pushing for not using the lockers other than morning and afternoon, but like Erin said, of course, if someone needs something, they'll be allowed to, speaking with an adult. But we do not want the kids congregating at the lockers and socializing, because that we know leads to some issues.
Yeah, and just
Go ahead.
No, please.
We are going to discourage the hanging out and talking at the locker. My heart's beating fast. My first girlfriend broke up with me at my locker. So for that reason alone, I don't want discourse at the lockers, all right? That's it. I'm not going to tell you her name, but I actually feel it right now. I hope my wife's not watching this. That's the same person.
So I know that we spoke in the beginning that we were going to stagger times. Maybe the 9th graders go out once, the 10th graders. As of right now, we're keeping everything the same. Everyone's going to be in the hallway at the same time, moving from class to class.
Yeah, we looked into staggering it that way. The problem is that they share classrooms. So if we release the 9th graders when everyone else is staying, then those 9th graders are standing outside the classrooms with more opportunity to congregate and socialize and lead to problems. So releasing them all at the same time is the best option at this time. But again, if we lead into problems, it's something we have to look at and make accommodations and changes.
Patty, I might have zoned off for a second, but did you talk about how we just marked everything in the hallway so that we do have flow?
Yeah, so those are the 2-lane hallways, one way when possible, so things like that. Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
And we will be at 50% capacity in those hallways. So that's another reason why we feel that it's safe, and we will be masked throughout. So that's another reason why we feel it will be safe.
Will UPK run this year?
Yes, UPA letters went out yesterday afternoon, so parents should be finding out today or tomorrow, and they're running in 7 of our elementary buildings.
Did we receive the full grant money that we were supposed to? Is it 80%?
We did receive full.
That's terrific.
And then we also have a tuition base, which is quite robust. So we are very thankful that we were able to bring back the program. I know that was really hard for our families and our little guys and gals. So I'm very happy about that.
Thank you very much. I'm sure they are too.
If we are ordered by the governor to close again and to go to full distance learning, how did the district come up with 2.5 hours of live streaming each day?
So the original agreement was something that we felt just, to shorten the periods. We looked around at other school districts, just thinking about, especially for our kindergarten students, it's not healthy in our view at that time that it would be a full day. That's not to mean that conversation, now that we have full leadership here, that we might be thinking around that a little bit differently, or depending on the grade level bands. I don't know if you
It is
want
an
to elaborate.
incredible, there's a balance there, right? We need to get instruction, we need to have kids on a screen. And then on the other end, we all know about being on a screen all day and how that affects us as adults, let alone our students. So we have to find that perfect balance. It's not going to be easy. We will, again, monitor it and look at it, and that's one of the things I'm going to look at closely as we move forward. We do have some time now. We're starting school on the 9th. I'd love that we put in a third professional development day that the board saw with the community, that we were going to add that extra day for our staff to be together to start to work through some of these issues. So that's really important. But we will look to strike that balance. And yes, so if that's where it is now, it may be there when I hope we don't get there, knock on wood. If we do get there, we will certainly look at that before we get there.
If parents chose to opt out of busing, will they be able to opt back in later?
Erin, do you do busing too, or what?
I just had the pleasure of sitting next to John for the past 5 months answering it, especially in the past month. So I think the misnomer, and our apologies if it was not clear enough, the first survey that we sent out was more just kind of gather information so that we knew what kind of spacing we were talking about in terms of student numbers. So I don't want anybody to think that if you said, I'm driving my child, you don't have the right to make a decision. So we don't think, I know a letter went out, Patty, maybe 2 days ago around the busing. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes, the letter went out with transportation, letting people know that we will not be altering what bus stop you get on, what bus you ride for any reasons. In addition to that, also letting people know that there might be two to a seat based on the needs of the people riding the bus. And we won't know that until we roll school out, basically.
So kids should be masked on buses as well. But if I said, oh, I'm going to drive my child, and then I feel safer a month from now, I'm in a better place, the world's in a better place, can my child get back to his original bus stop and start taking the bus again?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So then my question is, if they do that and then we overflow, are we in a position to put an extra bus on the road? What if it comes over 2 per seat?
So Mr. Savone has, and Mr. O'Keefe, and he could certainly put out more information if that's, what is needed, but we have put on already additional bus routes and some additional buses as well.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a question on the busing also? There seems to be a little confusion that we're supposed to social distance 6 feet, but we're allowing 2 to a seat on the bus. And I don't know if parents understand that that's acceptable.
I'll jump in. I have a bad habit of cutting people off, so I apologize.
That's okay.
Go ahead, if you want to.
So that was it.
Okay, good. I'm eager to answer this one. Yes, because that's a confusion for me as well. How can there be 6 feet of sitting next to each other on the bus? I'm trying to think if I have any bad memories about buses, but I really don't at this time. But we want to fill the back of the bus first, right? We're going to walk to the back of the bus and fill as we go forward, and we're going to look for opportunities where we don't have to sit next to someone else. But again, the guidance is clear that they can sit next to someone else if they need to and they are masked. That's what we're going to ask people to do.
Can I just piggyback on that? Will families be asked to sit together on the bus?
Oh, great point. That's another starting point. Go to the back of the bus, start filling from there. Families sit together first, and then we try to separate students. But if they have to sit next to someone, as long as they're masked, we feel, again, the guidance tells us that it would be okay.
It's my turn? Sorry. I just had the bus.
What is the protocol for when there is a positive COVID-19 case in any of the schools and or buses?
I'll jump in,
Yep.
and then you'll follow up again. And we talked about this a little bit. Again, we will immediately speak to the Department of Health, and they will guide us in terms of what we have to do next in terms of contact tracing, in terms of who might have been exposed and might need to be quarantined, and who might not be. So we will follow their guidance to the T. We are not going to, again, make a guess. We're not going to take 30 kids that are on a bus and tell them stay home for 14 days. We will follow their guidance. That's, I think, the best thing we can do right now.
Yeah, that's what they recommended yesterday, to follow their protocols, and they will let us know what's best practice.
Also, our chief medical officer is working with us and all of our registered nurses and our lead nurse to make sure that the medical professionals we have on site and on staff are able to assist us with all of those navigations.
I have a question that's not on the list, but someone
Uh-oh.
asked me to ask it.
Okay.
Regarding when we talked earlier about pushing, doing virtual and Google for the remote students who need OT and PT, will the OTs and PTs be given school district emails so they can access Google Classroom?
Well, anyone who uses our Google Classroom will need to have a CGIM email account. Mr. Renda, I know, is back there, so I apologize for putting him on the spot. But I don't know, Jack, if you want to pop up here and use one of our microphones a little bit. I think that might be nice for everyone to see the man behind the cape anyway, the wizard.
You're not going to see him. You can hear him.
Ah, come on, Jack.
The voice behind the curtain. So for any students that would require that and we do not have accounts for, if they are an outside vendor or something like that, we would make sure that they have an account. So this way there is some metric for them to be able to communicate. Whether or not the OTPT firms would have some other metric for that, we could talk to them, but we would make sure that they have that availability if we did need to go to that model.
Okay, thank you.
You know, Jack, thank you so much. The key to all of this will be communication. And so it's good to know that we have that flexibility. We'll add those tools when necessary.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. It's actually not on the list either, but working in a high school, I know that I see the first week or so of school, kids put add drop forms and change classes a lot. And we are now stuck with a certain amount of seats in each class. So how do we envision, how are we going to work around that aspect of it?
Yeah, we're going over again and again and again, making sure that students are placed where they need to be. And if that does occur, actually, we're going to try to prevent that from happening as much as possible. But we have to be cognizant of the fact that if we have numbers that have to meet a certain criteria, and so we'll have to meet, that's just another layer we're adding on our guidance counselors and our staff in our schools. But we have to be cognizant of those numbers in those classrooms.
So our guidance counselors right now are looking at the schedules. Ideally, you look at an A-day, B-day schedule thinking 30 kids, just 15 and 15. It's not working out that smoothly. So the guidance counselors are balancing the class as best as they can at the moment. And the administrators are already working on where to place kids so that it'll be socially distanced. We work through those issues using the auditorium, the gymnasium, and bigger areas so that guidance counselors can help them with them.
Okay, thank you.
Can you explain how AIS services will be provided in both elementary and middle school levels?
A lot of, Erin, I'm going to try to help with this.
Thank you.
A lot, that's what I'm here for. A lot of AIS will be, we will still have AIS. It's mandated service. It's something our kids need and deserve, and it's something that we are very good at providing, academic intervention services. So a lot of that will look somewhat differently in that a lot of our classroom teachers will be providing that as kind of a first layer. And I know we had this conversation the other day, Erin, I don't know if you want to get into a little bit more detail around that, but we recognize we will need to provide AIS for our students.
So at the elementary level, we will be looking at our classroom teachers. Our AIS is making sure that children get additional support on top of the universal instruction. So it could look something like, instead of guided reading groups 2 times a week for that particular student, they might be getting it 4 times a week instead. We are looking at staffing, and so possibly having to repurpose the reading teachers so that they can help with some in-classroom instruction, but also to support those classroom teachers who may need some additional support around AIS lessons. At the secondary building, AIS is a teacher that is scheduled into those children's schedules, so they will receive it traditionally, as they always do, as a second classroom.
Regarding the state test, how will students doing remote learning be taking these tests, and what about the Regents exams?
Yeah, that's fantastic, but I don't know that answer yet. I don't know that the state knows that in terms of the remote. We got to worry about reliability and validity of those responses, and the state has not come up with a mandate. The state has said you must have remote, but they have not told us yet how we're going to facilitate that with those state regents and assessments. And So if we stay on the path we are now, I don't know if we're necessarily going to have those assessments. I hope we get in a much better place very soon, and I hope those youngsters get the pleasure of taking those regions. My son was robbed of that pleasure last year. A couple of his regions he just got a credit on. And I know he was very upset about that.
Can you guys clarify the Aed schedule? I know sometimes when we just talk about it, it gets confusing, but is it going to be set up AB or is it ABCD? And then how will we know what day it is? I know that in the beginning it's easy, but then in the middle of the year or if there's a snow day, it gets confusing. Will there be a spot where it's posted every day so somebody can go see it?
So I don't understand any of this, so I'm not going anywhere near it. And I hope we'll be able to explain it clearly now. And I would love for some means by which to get this to parents, whether we print it out, we don't like to print it, put it on the website, color code it some way, so I can so I can roll out of bed and know it's D, or it's, well, is it even supposed to be D? Is it B, or is it A? So we can stay on top of that, because it's confusing already with days 1 through 6 and things like that. Now we're doing A, B, someone was explaining to me A, C, B, D, and so someone needs to explain that to me and to anyone else out there. Let's figure out a way we can disseminate it clearly to folks, please.
So students basically be in a cohort of an AC cohort or BD. And the reason behind using the 4-day like that is because if I was only to be an A student, I'd be receiving the same electives every single time I was in school in person. By doing an AC, it would alternate. So if I had PE alternating my lab, on my first day in that week, I'd go to my PE class. On my second day in that week, I would go to my lab class. But we will put it out there, example schedules for students to follow on the website as well as Google Classroom. As far as knowing what day it is, it would be the same thing as we've done in the past. We've always been an 8A B-Day school, and every morning in the homeroom we announce today is an 8A B-Day. We can't necessarily post it on a calendar because if we're out for a day, we don't miss that day. We would then change the rotation of what day it is. But that's something that we can put on, the school, but knowing you're an AC cohort or BD cohort student.
If a child wakes up and doesn't know what day it is, he goes to school and he's not supposed to be there, what happens to that child? And what if mom and dad are working and they can't get the student home?
That's some of the concerns that we've been working through, and it's something we'd have to work toward. The student should know, well, if they were in school the day before, they're not going to school that day.
Okay.
So we're going to definitely rely on the families to help with that, as well as we're talking about secondary students. So if they went to school on Monday, they don't go on Tuesday. They're back on Wednesday. So that's why it's every other day. We didn't take a day off. We didn't do, 8A B-Day. Monday, Tuesday, one student. Then what is Wednesday? Am I alternating? It's every other day.
Okay. So it'll be consistent throughout all the schools, right? I know we use Remind or something like that. Maybe there's some way. I just think of busy parents and my son, who just could wake up confused or bring the wrong, let's say they show up, but they brought the wrong materials with them or something like that. And you confused me. You said A day, AC, BD, then you started talking about PE, and I totally got lost. But I understand that A and C are connected,
yes,
and B and D are connected. And
we're also looking to do the Remind, the push out Remind every single morning. We're going to do that by cohort. So you're not going to get the Remind on the days you're not going in, because you do not need to fill out the health screening form on that day. So that will help students as well.
So if I wake up and that health screening form is there, I got to get my cherub to school, right? I have to get my child. I need to know that.
Yes.
Okay, so that's one means by which we can do that as a backup almost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a question now on the list. I know we said we're going to go through 100% of the curriculum. So new material is going to be posted on Google Classroom every day. How does that work with math? Students are expected to teach. How are students expected to teach themselves new math lessons?
So, well, first, if you don't mind me saying, Sarah, and I appreciate you asking that question. I hope you don't mind I just talk about it a little bit, only because Ms. Moran is here and she's our director for math and science. Well, one, we were always delivering 100% of the curriculum that was always in our plan. It was just on Google Classroom every day. I think the misnomer was that because the kids aren't in every day, yes, a teacher may be reteaching something that they might have to the prior, but they're also teaching the big ideas to make sure that the kids throughout the week, whether they're in class or at home, can complete whatever work possible. Math, though, in particular, we know math is very challenging. I will be the first to say I was not a great math student at all. By the grace of God, I got through all of my classes and I graduated high school. But we have our own units. They are on all PDFs in our Google Classrooms, whether that's high school, middle school, or elementary school. And we also have videos that are attached to that through Zern and through other items like that, where no matter what lesson, the workbooks that we'll be sending home have QR codes, and a parent can just click right on that, pop on it, and see the video as well as the student. And those are also going to be laid on everybody's Google Classroom as well.
So just the idea again, Sarah, that they have to learn it on their own. That's not our intention. That's not our goal. That's not what there will be, our teachers are experts and they will have materials in there that will support students in their learning. It won't just be, here it is, see you Thursday. We're going to support our kids.
So we just want to take the time again to say thank you guys for doing this today. I know that we could spend all day, we could ask 100,000 questions, and there'll still be questions afterward, but I encourage anybody in the community who still has questions to reach out to their building principal, to reach out to you guys. You've been great answering all of the questions all the time. And again, like you said, it's a fluid situation. It's always changing. We're going to look for more guidance as we move forward. Nothing is set in stone, but we can't thank you guys enough for doing this again and moving forward and being so transparent and open for the community.
Alex, I have to thank this team here who's done a spectacular job. John, again, is not here. John O'Keefe did a spectacular job as well. No other industry, restaurants, hospitals, prisons, no one had to come up with 3 plans like this: hybrid, in-person, remote, and try to figure all this out. This has never been done before. And so we really appreciate everyone's support. We appreciate the hard work that's gone into it. It's an incredible amount, and it will continue to be that way. But we are here for our students, and we will continue to work as hard as we can to do that. I'd give you my phone number. I don't know it yet. You can find us on the website.
And excuse me, if I could just add, if the parents could please go on the website and update their emergency contacts. There's room there for them to put 3 people that are able to come to pick up their child. It's very, very important that we have that information if the parents are not going to be able to pick up their child if something happens.
So I'll just piggyback on that before, just like what we do every year, and I think we started this probably about 2 years ago. When you go on to the parent portal to get your child, whether it's secondary or elementary, there will be a prompt for you to just double check all of that emergency information, just so that if you forget, don't worry about it. First time you log on to the schedule, it will prompt up and it won't let you get in until you double check that everything's okay.
Yeah, especially new phone numbers, because people do change their phone numbers, so updated phone numbers is very, very important. That's very frustrating when you're trying to reach them and you don't have numbers that are connected.
For sure.
Okay.
Any last words? Anybody need anything? Good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for coming in. And Allison, thank you.
Thank you.